Hey, it's Corey and Jen. We're starting a new worm casting bucket, or vermiculture. So the point of it basically is to have the worms digest all of our food from our kitchen scraps, like lettuce and carrots and all that kind of stuff from the kitchen. So what we do is we're starting a new bucket. You want to start with a layer of bedding for the worms. It's kind of like their home, their safe spot to go when they don't want to eat all the food. They want to go to a place to rest for a little bit. So what we do to create the bedding is we start with the egg cartons. We'll just take up and tear little pieces off of the egg cartons, similar to that right there, and just toss it in the bottom. And then the second layer is grass. So this is grass from the yard. So we let it sit in a compost pile for a little bit and start to decay. We don't use any fertilizers or pesticides on our grass, so we don't have to worry about that in our worms. So once it starts decaying, we'll put a little water in it, and we'll make the second layer of that. And you want your this layer to be a little bit damp, so I'll take and wring out some of the grass so it's damp but not totally soaking wet, and we'll sprinkle it in. And then after the grass, we do a layer of shredded paper. So I'll actually take the shredded paper and put a little water on it, just to where it's just, once again, just barely damp, and do a layer of it. And then in between these layers, I will take and actually sprinkle eggshells. So these are eggshells. We'll just take eggs, pop them in a microwave, the shells anyways, after we eat the eggs. Pop them in a microwave to kill any bacteria or anything on the eggs, dry them off, and we'll pop them into a little bullet blender. And so this is for the worms to help digest. So the worms' digestive system is similar to a bird, where they have a gizzard. So they need rocks and other little things to push through, help push the food through their system. So this gives them a little grit. You could also just use dirt from the yard, but we kind of like using the eggshells. And then so once we go through those layers, we'll do a couple layers of it. We'll go up roughly half the bucket, maybe a little less, maybe a third of the bucket, or the tote here, full of the bedding. And then from there, we will actually get some of the worms from our other worm bucket to seed this one. It's also good to start with some of the compost from the other worm bin, because it has all the bacteria and all kinds of good microorganisms to help break down all the food for the worms to eat, and then turn into wonderful fertilizer for us. Anyways, we'll continue this video. Oh, actually, let me do one thing. So we actually have holes in the buckets here too for the air for the worms. Second part of the video, where we actually take the compost from the other compost bin, the vermiculture bin, my worm bin, and so I just reached in and grabbed a couple handfuls of it, so you can see all these worms in here. Yeah, it's pretty cool, huh?
Good
Tons
stuff.
of rich soil.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Tons of worms in there. Anyways, they digest the food. They eat about half of their weight each day in food. So if you have a pound of worms, they will eat about a half a pound of food every day.
All in that root.
That's cool. We typically wear gloves, so just in case there's any salmonella or any weird bacteria in there, we don't get it on our hands. Anyway, so we're just going to seed this new bucket with this wonderful set of worms right here. So we'll just take it and dump it in. And the worms will dig right into that bedding we just made. Kind of spread them out a little bit. And then here in just a minute, we will actually do a layer of food for them on top as well. And then once we get the layer of food, well, we don't really do it in layers, we actually do it in pockets on one corner. So the worms can go to that one area to feed, and then the next week we'll put it into this corner, then next week this corner, then this corner, then back to the other original corner. So that way it gives them time to digest the food. The food shouldn't last more than about 2 weeks in one spot. So if it's lasting more than 2 weeks in one spot, then you're probably feeding them too much. But yeah, and then after we put some food on top, we will put another layer of the bedding, so it keeps the gnats and bugs and stuff out. So we've got our layers of bedding, and then now we have our layer of our worms from our previous bucket, starting a new one. So now what we do is we want to add some of our kitchen scraps. So we'll just take, set that up there. So we just have anything from our kitchen, right? So banana peels and onions, and you don't want to put too much citrus in there. So you can put like the fruit of the orange, but not the peel. And even that's kind of controversial. What happens is the worms don't like acid very much. So if you put too much citrus in there, like oranges and lemons and limes and stuff like that, then you can make your soil too acidic for your worms. And second of all, if you did it in small amounts, it might be okay, but it just takes them forever to eat it because they have to wait for the acid to break down. So what we do is we get handfuls. This powder is the eggs. So we grind up eggshells. So we're piling it in one corner. So we'll do several handfuls of our kitchen stuff into one corner. Even got a corn cob in there. We got all kinds of good stuff. Tea and coffee grounds does great in there as well. So we do all organic, so it'll all break down just fine. And that is it. And then we'll do one layer of bedding on top of that to keep the gnats down.